The next item we're bringing forth is a summary for the board of our Henrico survey results. And you'll recall that this is a key metric, a performance metric as it relates to our division strategic plan, Destination 2025. And so Dr. Hinton is here to provide the summary for us.
Hi, good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, and Dr. Cashwell. Annually, we administer surveys to students, families, and staff to measure the progress of our strategic goals in Destination 2025, the division strategic plan. The surveys are designed around the 4 cornerstones of safety and wellness, academic progress, equity and opportunity, and relationships. Due to COVID-19, our survey administration in 2020 was canceled. So we are excited to have data for this school year to guide us into the fall. We continue to partner with the Metropolitan Educational Research Consortium, or MERC, in the School of Education at Virginia Commonwealth University in this effort. They work with us to develop survey items specifically aligned with our strategic plan drivers and administer and analyze the survey results. This year, surveys were available online in March through April of 2021 to students in grades 5 through 12, families, and staff. The family survey was available in 6 languages, including English, Spanish, Arabic, Portuguese, Dari, and Vietnamese, and a paper version of the surveys was available if requested. New this year, we embedded audio into both the English and Spanish online surveys to provide families with additional assistance. Families utilizing this feature could click on the audio button in the survey and questions and response choices would be read aloud. The surveys were communicated through a variety of platforms, including the Henrico website, social media, principal emails, paper flyers, the binder e-newsletter, and survey emails. In total, 13,472 stakeholders participated in the survey, including 4,917 staff members, 6,637 family members, and 19,818 students. Although our response rates among students and staff declined slightly, more family members participated in the survey this year than in 2019. The decline in responses is likely due to the virtual learning and work environment that has continued throughout the school year for some students and staff. One way that we worked to increase survey participation among families this year was to offer family and school incentives. Family members who completed the survey and wanted to be entered into a prize drawing could complete a brief prize entry form at the end of the survey. Thanks to our partners in the Department of Family and Community Engagement, we were able to randomly select one family from each magisterial district to win a prize bag. Additionally, the Henrico Education Foundation generously donated $500 in professional development funds to the school in each magisterial district with the highest family survey response rate. And congratulations to the faculties at Glen Lee Elementary, Springfield Park Elementary, Pemberton Elementary, Ward Elementary, and Glen Allen High School for successfully engaging your families. As you review the report, you will note that response choices range from 1, meaning completely disagree, to 6, meaning completely agree. Scores from 1 to 3 represent some level of disagreement, and scores from 4 to 6 represent some level of agreement. Data are reported by respondent group and include the percent response for each response choice, the item average response, and a combined percent agree and disagree. Change in average from the 2019 survey administration is also included. This change column allows us to see areas that may have been positively impacted by new processes or programs aligned with our strategic plan drivers implemented in the last 2 years. You'll also see that many survey items were asked across respondent groups, but some were unique to only 1 or 2 groups, or may have only been asked to to particular respondents who have a particular experience. Each item on the survey was associated with one of the division's 4 cornerstones. This slide shows the overall average response to questions within each cornerstone. Values ranging from 1 to 3 represent some level of disagreement, and 4 to 6 represent some level of agreement. Safety and wellness included items related to areas such as physical safety and school-based mental health. Academic growth included items related to areas such as the Henrico learner profile and college and career planning. Equity and opportunity included items related to areas such as appreciation of different cultures, culturally responsive teaching, and support of underrepresented groups in advanced courses. Relationships included items related to areas such as teacher and student relationships and parent involvement. You can see that on average, all stakeholder groups favorably reported on each cornerstone. All averages were within the agreement range. Generally, students tended to have the least favorable responses across each cornerstone, with the highest response for relationships, which was also the highest ranked cornerstones for families. Staff reported the highest levels of favorable responses to each of the 4 cornerstones across each group. When we look at the change in cornerstone averages from 2019, you can see that averages increased in most cornerstones across groups, except for family perceptions of safety and wellness. These increases mean that stakeholders are viewing these areas more favorably than they did in 2019, indicating progress towards our strategic goals. The survey report contains a wealth of information that division leaders and school administrators will use in future planning. The next few slides will highlight some of the key survey findings by sharing items from each group with the highest and lowest averages. However, it's important to note that while the items with the lowest averages in the survey are listed, many of these items were still within the agreement range, meaning that the majority of respondents still reported favorably to the item, but there were other items in the survey that had higher averages. Several areas of safety and wellness continue to be a strength, including student knowledge of consequences for breaking school rules, and students feeling that they can go to an adult at the school if they need help. 2 new areas of strength that emerged were families feeling that students are treated fairly by adults in the school, and student knowledge of the negative effects of drug and alcohol use. While progress from 2019 has been made in the majority of these next items, they still continue to be the lower agreement items of the surveys. We continue to see opportunities related to bullying, school-based mental health and emotional understanding, consistency and support for the implementation of behavioral expectations, and regular discussion of student behavioral data in schools. New this year, opportunities are also identified related to family beliefs that schools teach students about the negative effects of drug and alcohol use and staff perceptions of student respect for adults. Looking at academic growth, we see many similarities and strengths noted in the 2019 surveys, including schools having high expectations for student learning, student awareness of career-focused courses, priority on school attendance, accessibility of academic program materials for families, and staff use of assessment data to support student academic growth. Additional opportunities were noted in students feeling encouraged by adults at the school to take advanced courses, and family perceptions of the quality of our teaching staff. Opportunities continue to be noted in implementing the Henrico learner profile, particularly the deeper learning model and the 6 C's. Families reported lower agreement in feeling informed about pathways and prerequisites for college and career readiness, starting as early as elementary school. Lower agreement among students was also reported when asked if they had taken a career assessment. For staff, an opportunity was identified to make professional development more relevant to the work they do each day. Another area of focus for the division is around the cornerstone of equity and opportunity. We continue to see strengths related to staff understanding and appreciating different cultural backgrounds and staff feeling comfortable interacting with people of different cultural backgrounds. Families of English learners continue to be satisfied with those services and report that schools understand the needs of these students. Students reported favorably that schools help them develop positive attitudes towards people who are different than them. Among the lower rated items, students and staff continue to note use of materials that teach students about different cultures as an area for growth. Families reported less agreement with the item related to students being encouraged to enroll in specialized programs such as IB, GISA, high school specialty centers, ACE centers, and ACA. Lastly, staff noted an opportunity related to schools teaching students to understand how a person's background affects their thoughts and opinions, which is a component of our culturally responsive education model. While these items were identified as opportunities, it's encouraging to mention that all of these areas have improved since 2019. Last but certainly not least, many facets of relationships continue to be a strength, including staff relationships with their colleagues and students, family and school relationships, and school communications with families on student academic progress. This year, staff also reported favorably on the relationships that they have with their supervisors, and families agree that staff treat students with respect. Opportunities continued related to staff wanting more involvement with decision-making and family awareness of our strategic plan. Staff also reported less favorable responses related to their satisfaction with the recognition they receive for doing a good job. So throughout this presentation, themes and connections to our strategic plan work and other recent presentations are evident. However, more work will be done as we head into the fall to analyze the survey data in more depth at both the division and school levels. This data is invaluable as we move Henrico towards our goals. The division survey report will be available on the HCPS website and through social media. And the development of school-level reports is in progress, and school leaders will have access to their school's data by July to support their school quality work over the summer. And at this time, I am happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hinton. I'm going to begin this with Mrs. Ogburn.
All righty, thank you. If we could go, I don't remember which page it is, but it doesn't matter. The bullying and mental health and mental awareness section, you know, that still persists. And I know we are so working on that, and we've employed so many different strategies for that. It makes me sad to hear that it's still such an issue, and looking at the survey results, it shows that. But I know that it's just something we continue to work on. There are just so many things that work against us as far as like social media and other stuff like that. But I'm just sorry to hear that. But I appreciate you sharing all of this with us. And as far as our guidance counselors go, I know we're adding more next year, so I'm hoping that will help. And I'm also hoping they actually get to do more counseling and less, you know, scheduling and college applications and the things that they get so pulled to do other things. But, you know, but I think one of the things the survey shows us whenever we do one is that relationships are the key. You know, I know when we were working on creating the cornerstones, there's a reason why the relationship one in that list is at the bottom. And it just is the foundation for everything else we do. So I am so glad we do surveys like this so we can know where we have work to do. It's always nice to hear the strengths and the good things that we're doing, but we need to look at where we're not meeting needs. And so it just gives us, it's that snapshot in time, I know, but it's good feedback for everybody from the building level on. I don't really have any questions for you, but I just really appreciate the in-depth analysis of what our feedback is, and that we continue to do this. So I will thank you for that and move on.
Thank you, Madam. Ms. Kinsella. Oh,
Thank you. Yeah, I didn't.
We're hopping around
fully
today,
catch it.
yeah.
But thank you. Yes, I love data. I know this is the kind of data I like to look at, because it truly, it's all of our stakeholders, right? Maybe not all of them responded, but it's pretty representative. And as we already spoke to the student, or at least we spoke and heard from the students today, the fact that they have some of the least favorable responses, I'm looking to learn more from them within each building, which is why I'm going to request, if board members, when they're ready, if board members could have the school level surveys, so that we can better understand and support our schools and school communities. I feel like we've said this so many times within the past year, and I guess it's just an ongoing phrase, there's always more work to do. And this is such a roadmap for us. So I'm glad that we do it annually, because feedback is how we know what we better need to do outside of academic data. So thank you for your work on this, and I look forward to the school level reports.
Ms. Shea.
Thank you so much. I wholeheartedly second Ms. Kinsella's request for us to be able to see the school level reports for each of our schools, just to have a better understanding at a more granular level. I just have two things that really jumped out at me while I was going through this, and then I did a bit of a deeper dive in that comprehensive document you shared with us, so I appreciate that. One of them is what Ms. Ogburn brought up with the bullying question, which is one of the places where all of our stakeholders agreed that that was something we needed to work on, with actually a majority of students indicating that bullying was a problem at their school. And so that really jumped out at me. If we have it, I would love to see if those trends look differently for different ages. So for elementary school, middle school, and high school, how that flushes out, as well as by locality. Are there like matriculation patterns in which it seems to be more prevalent or less prevalent? I think that look at the data may be informative. It may not, but that may inform us. And then as we look at next year, surveying around this topic, so the question was stated, bullying, including bullying on devices like cell phones, computers, and tablets, is not a problem at this school. And so I wonder if we can kind of bifurcate between digital bullying versus in the building bullying, because I think that would also be very informative. All right, and then the second piece that really jumped out at me that I thought was really interesting was under relationships, that one of the things that staff thought was an opportunity for growth was to be involved in decision making. And I can say from this side of things, looking at how deeply our superintendent cares about the voices of all stakeholders, but also so intentionally spends time with all different types of staff, support staff, counselors, revamping the TAC program. Staff input to decision-making is so important to her and her team. And so, and us. And so I was a little confused and concerned to see that on the list of opportunities for relationships, because it's not what I see from this direction. And we want all of our staff's voice to be heard and to feel like it's valued, because we do value it. And so I was a little more at peace when I deep dove into it to find, well, actually, while it is one of our opportunities for growth, 84% of the staff agree that they are part of the decision-making, with the largest group of 41% being in the completely agree, as compared to 3% being in the completely disagree. And so anyway, just to say, I think, and to publicly put on record, we are always looking for opportunities to engage in genuine discussions with all of our stakeholders. I know I try to reach out to all my teachers or staffs at the beginning of the year in my buildings and say, I'll come have lunch with y'all. I just want to know what's going on with you and what your concerns are. But I think all my colleagues echo the same thing. And so just as we can continue to have genuine feedback, but this superintendent cares so much and so deeply about all stakeholder input and really takes it to heart. So.
And I'm so glad you mentioned that. And I mentioned it earlier, but it's also good to reiterate it. This is just the highest and lowest. Just because it's on the lowest side doesn't mean that it was a very negative response on our items. And so the
This says how high everything else was.
Exactly. And when you dig into the data, that's exactly what you find.
Ms. Atkins.
Thank you so much for your work, and I don't have any questions at this time.
Dr. Hinton, so quickly, on slide 4, I see the response numbers, excuse me, but what would also have been helpful for me, or will be helpful for me, is the total population size of each of those groups. I don't know if you have that, but if you could get that to me, that'd be great. Get it to us, rather. Also, I noted that the school level reports will be available to principals by July. Question I'm curious about, will this be an actual further breakdown of the data so we can compare the responses and response rates by school, primary, secondary levels, and districts, so we can have a more pointed analysis of the data?
Yes, so the school level reports will give you the school level means for each item in comparison to the level. So you can compare that elementary school to all elementary schools, and then the district level as well. So it does give you a much more kind of in-depth dive.
Thank you so much for that clarity. The parent response rates were significantly low, 15.2%, compared to the student and staff responses, which are a little over 62 to 63%. How many total questions or survey items were there? Do you know offhand?
I don't know offhand. The survey is fairly lengthy. I do have to say that. We're covering a lot of, components of our plan. And, definitely families are the response group that we have the hardest time reaching. I was encouraged to at least see that we were making some gains in that area, but it's still a lot of work to do.
So that being said, the question, I'm sure that survey fatigue contribute to that, but do you think the number of survey questions and or items may have also played a role?
Potentially. Most of our families who start the survey are completing it. It's really kind of just getting our parents to engage, and I think to your point, there was so much electronic communication coming at them, and there's always a lot of communication coming. So we have to figure out a way to kind of set this apart and let everyone know how important it is to us moving forward. But to your point about the number of survey items, that's something we can take a look at to see if every item is needed, and we do a review with our DLT every year on that.
That'd be awesome. I mean, just would love for that number to increase. So after reviewing the student survey responses, I'm going to make a generalization. It appears that our students desire learning that is applicable to real life, culturally relevant, and they desire a school community that is safe and inclusive to all school students. I found this very encouraging because our students' responses show some alignment with our strategic goals Ms. Kinsella outlined in our strategic plan, Destination 2025. So thank you for that. It was broached, and I'm not going to go in depth as they have in regards to the bullying piece, but when I did look at the data, the survey results, there's a stark contrast between students' perception of bullying as a problem and staff's and parents' perception of bullying as a problem. We've seen on some of the social media platforms, students shared experiences with bullying. And I'm hopeful, Dr. Cashwell, that our programs such as our equity ambassadors will continue to help us move towards a more inclusive and tolerant school community. But generally speaking, outside of the anonymous alerts tools, could you briefly speak to the intentional efforts being placed on identification and bullying prevention efforts to help create safer school environments for all of our students, if not you, somebody on staff?
I don't see anyone hopping up for that, and I know some of it was covered with our social, emotional, and wellness teams in prior presentations, but I'll add this data point is definitely something that has our attention at the central level as well around bullying. You've all mentioned it. And so in addition to the data that's come forth in this survey, we have some additional data pieces, data sets that we receive from our students on similar topics. So the name of the survey is escaping me right now, and Dr. Hinton, you may know it.
So yeah, every year, it's actually a state survey. It's the Virginia School Safety Survey, and we participate in that as well, so it's another data source.
That's a state survey, and you had the exact name, and so it asks some questions of students, and again, the response rates are high because we're asking this of all of our students that really dig a little deeper into some of the pieces that we cover on a higher level in this survey. So we're really drilling down into that data, sharing that data with our teams who support our school counselors, school psychologists, and administrators, so that there's a broader awareness. And I think Mrs. Shea kind of spoke to this, to try to call out, is this the reason students are bullied? Is it based on their culture, their race, their religion? Does it have something to do with, is this more in the digital arena versus the in-person arena? Are there trends we're seeing at specific schools, at specific grade levels? So certainly we're digging deeper into that to make sure that we are responsive in the most appropriate ways. You mentioned some really important tools like the anonymous alerts. Some schools have specific things they do within their school counseling teams where students can, request appointments that are in a way that it's very confidential and private. But, we're going to keep drilling down into that to make sure that we, if we need to shift gears or add some efforts that are responsive to what we're really hearing from our students, that we do that, because this is certainly something that has our attention as well.
Well, Ms. Ogburn alluded to a great point in regards to the foundation of our cornerstones, our relationships, but notice the bookend, if you will. At the very bottom is relationships, but at the top is safety and wellness. And so there's a congruency with that in regards to the perception and reality. And I'm appreciative, that's why I asked specifically the intentionality of our efforts, because we want to make sure that our students, our families, our staff know that this is something that is high priority for us, because we want our children to we always talk about it, if you're hungry, you can't learn, right? So we're intentional about feeding our children. If you don't have access and opportunities, sometimes it's hard to be successful. But if you're frightened, or if you are being bullied, that is very preventative for your ability to be successful in your studies and your academics. So thank you for you all's tag team answer to that, and look forward to hearing more about that, Dr. Cashwell. Thank you so much, Dr. Hinton, for your work and your team's work as well.
Thank you.
Dr. Cashwell.
All right. Thank you again, Dr. Hinton.